Continuing our discussion on culture and defining the various components of culture, we're going to look at the next three parts: norms, mores, and folkways. Let's start with the first: norms. Norms refer to rules and expectations that society uses to guide the behaviors of its members. So, again, rules and expectations that society uses to guide the behavior of its members. So, every culture has its own norms that it considers to be normal. Now, normal doesn't exactly mean natural. Natural means that things are that way by nature. But there are some things that we consider to be natural when in fact it's normal, meaning it fits our norms. If we look at the word normal, the root word there is norm. So when we say someone is abnormal, that means they're not normal. Now, there may not be anything wrong with that because what we would describe as abnormal behavior might be normal in another part of the world. But in our society, it is abnormal, meaning it doesn't fit the rules and expectations by which we live. Now let's look at mores. Mores are also norms, but these are norms that are widely observed and have great moral significance. In other words, these are norms for our morality. Norms for our morality. So, there are rules and expectations that we use to describe what is called moral behavior. And moral or morality refers to our sense of right and wrong. So, in our country, there are certain behaviors that we consider to be moral that may be immoral somewhere else, because it doesn't fit that particular value system in that particular country. So, what is considered moral in one society may not be moral in another. And I've had conversations with people who are not necessarily spiritual or Christian or even believe in a creator or a higher power or God. So they may say, well, I'm not a Christian, but I'm more Christian than anyone you know. I mean, I ain't better than half these Christians around here. And I say, okay, you say you're more moral than your average Christian? And they say, yeah. I'm more moral than any Christian you know. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. When you say you're moral, describe for me in behavior what you would or would not do. And they say, well, you know what? I believe all life is precious, so I'd never kill unless I had to defend myself. Or I was forced to fight in a war. But even then, I might have a problem. Okay, I would never steal from someone. I'm not a jealous person, so I would never envy somebody for what they have, okay? And I believe in being faithful to my spouse, I would never take something that doesn't belong to me, like someone else's relationship. And I am not a liar. I was raised to be an honest person. So you're telling me that you don't kill, right? You wouldn't steal, no. You don't envy people for what they have and want to take it from them, right? You wouldn't commit adultery, no. You wouldn't lie on someone, absolutely not. Okay, so let's put some words in front of that, shall we? Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. What did I just read off to you? 5 of the 10 commandments from the Judeo-Christian Bible. So you may not be a Christian or even someone that believes in God, but you sure do act like you do. And I'll tell you why you do. Because Christianity is the dominant religion in the United States. And typically what is considered moral behavior is predicated upon the dominant religion. So you don't have to be religious to act like a religious person. Because when religion mattered most in this country, hundreds of years ago, centuries ago, when almost everybody believed in God, and if you didn't, there was death for you, like during the colonial times, during the Puritan times, you had to believe in God. And if you didn't, you kept that to yourself. So we formed what we consider to be morality based on those religious beliefs. If you go to another part of the world that practices Islam, their morality is predicated upon the Muslim religion or the religion of Islam. In the Buddhist society, same thing. So oftentimes, the dominant religion drives how people see morality. Now let's look at the last term, folkways. Folkways are norms that guide casual interaction. So, how we should act in a social situation, like being rude versus being polite. That's folkways. And before we kind of dismiss these little rules as being insignificant, think about it. These are the rules that help us get along with one another. And these are the rules that keep peace in our society. So they're important. Let's say you're walking through a door and someone's right behind you and you let the door go and it hits the person behind you. They might call you a rude jerk. You might respond, "Who are you calling a rude jerk? I'm calling you a rude jerk." And boom, 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 now you're fighting. Why? Because someone let the door go. Or someone didn't say, "Excuse me, please," or "thank you." Or someone bumped into somebody and they didn't say, "Excuse me." And that person felt like that physical contact was deliberate and purposeful. They might attack. So it's important for us to follow folkways because I call it sort of the thread the thread that kind of sews together our social network, that keeps us getting along with one another, keeping us having positive interaction with one another. So the folkways are important.